I tell you what, you guys know yourselves better than I do. Why don't you give us a couple of minutes about who you are, your role, and what you do in your organisations?
You go ahead.
Perfect, I'll start. Okay. So my name is Magda Egan. I'm the head of HR and people in Kilishi Hotel, part of FBD Hotels and Resorts. I've been working in hospitality for the last 20 years. A lot of hotels actually in Dublin that are quite familiar to me. I've actually stayed in one of them last night in the
Who's pulling
Gibson.
all the strings to get rates last night?
So I suppose hotels, it's what I love. I suppose I started in food and beverage as an F&B assistant and worked my way through, but I very quickly discovered that people, it's my passion. I suppose HR is my passion, and that's what I worked in, I suppose, and worked my career through. And my current role, I absolutely love it. It's one of those roles when I can make a real impact with a clear HR strategy and how we bring people together. Like we employed 320 people, so it's a large workforce.
Big operation.
A lot of young people are joining us, and I suppose we're that first work experience that they have. So it's really important to me that we have a great employee experience for them and a journey, and they can bring that with them wherever they go in the future on those key skills like communication, people, and how they interact with each other. So I suppose that's just a really brief description of my role and how I come to get there.
And to put that into context, 360 people, you said, isn't it?
Well, in round, yeah.
And it's probably 75% less than 25 years old. Like it's a huge proportion
Oh,
of your
yes,
group
yeah,
are less
massive,
than
yeah,
25, right?
yeah.
So kind of dealing with that specifically. Brilliant. Thanks, Magda.
Thank
What
you.
about you, John?
How you doing? John Loftus, and as Fania said, up to very recently, I worked for BT Ireland for nearly 28 years. So today actually marks my last day in that organisation, which has gone through a lot of changes in those 28 years, as I have myself. So I started off actually selling the internet on the west coast of Ireland from Kerry to Mallinhead, back when businesses didn't actually realise they needed the internet for their business, how things have changed. And then probably about 12 years into my career as a salesperson, I said, "Do you know what? I love all this commission. It's great. But I actually want to do more. What do I love about my job? I actually love dealing with people." So I moved into a kind of a development role, a training and development role. And then subsequently, 10 years ago, I moved into an employee engagement and communications role. I have to say that has been the best 10 years of my life. So it's actually great to finish my time in the organization on a stage talking about great places to work. So because I have been very fortunate to work in such a place, and we've had ups and downs, and certainly the last year has been challenging, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the role that I had covered everything from your general communications, but also, looking at how we can help recruit people into the business, keep people into the business, events, young scientists, obviously a crucial part of that, health and well-being, volunteering, charitable activities as well. So it was, no day was the same. So, yeah.
John, we're really honoured that you've chosen to spend your last day with us. But thank you. And look, to you both, I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with you both for a good few years now, right? And seeing that the impact that you've had on your own cultures, your own organisations, and the passion that you bring yourselves into your roles, and translating that into kind of some of that business impact that Jim and Marina were taking us through. I think it's one of these pieces around, we talk about, today is impactful employee advocacy, right? And you can't have it unless there's an actual culture to be advocating, when it really starts with that build internally. And I suppose, Magda, let's start with you. I know I've been small part of that Kilishi journey, kind of watching your data change over time. What was it about? What did we have to build internally that we were promising to our own people before we could look at that external lens?
Yes, I suppose our journey in Kilishi started about 3.5 years ago, and we were very specific about what we wanted to do and achieve. So our HR strategy was very much about measuring. So I suppose it was their first ever survey. They've never done surveys before. So we're looking very much quickly at the results and what are the key areas we need to work on. So we had to build that internal promise and that employee journey. So it really started with the basics. It's looking at the facilities. Do they have, enough lockers in the changing rooms? It's as simple as that. And we actually built new changing rooms. So we had new, fresh facilities for them, canteen with lovely food quality. So we improved all of those basics first. And then look at communications. The communication was a huge piece for us, with the 350 staff, a lot of them are casual that are just coming in for like 1 or 2 shifts per week. How do we get that message across to them? All that good work that we have been doing. So we were using all the channels, between our news feeds on the app, communication through like newsletters, notice boards, you name it. But the most important was, I suppose, the management training and making sure that those briefings were happening every day. So like all of our departments, they have to have a briefing every day. There's no such thing as coming into work and there's no briefing, because that's where they get the information about what's happening in the hotel. That's where we talk to them about, events. We talk to them about what's coming up for them as well. So like we do a huge amount of events for the team, between like summer parties, Christmas parties, but it's getting that message across to them. So they were the kind of basic things we focused on first, and make sure that that communication was going through to the employee, looking at, the unique benefits. Like we offer them, a free membership as soon as you start with us for the leisure center, and, they can use that at their disposal from day one. Like that's a really unique benefit. So we're like, we have to shout about this. We have to tell everyone so people are aware of it. And on top of that, then, they on-the-job training. So we kind of had like a dual, I suppose, strategy. Like we were actually looking at our customer journey and the employer journey and employee journey at the same time. So we were increasing the level of standards, and we were increasing, I suppose, the experience for the customer. But at the same time, we were increasing that experience for the employee. So we were not forgetting about the back of house. Like I'm really proud now to sit here in 3 years' time and say our back of house, it's actually really nice. And you can actually enjoy it. And I'm not afraid to take content in our canteen and post it on the social media because it looks well and we've put so much effort into it. So, we decorate it for different events and we make sure that it's kept that way, and that consistency piece, it's huge for us. Because, we do a lot of big events, we do a lot of, weddings, communions, all sorts of celebrations for people. But we kind of translate that then into the back of house and give that recognition back to the team as well. And they really appreciate it.
That makes a lot of sense. So to capture that, if I can, over the last, I suppose, 4 years now, there's been a journey in terms of Kilishi, the experience that you're building for your people, but also the experience you were building for the guest and the business that you were building. And those two things having equitable investment. So for us to be able to deliver that standard of service for our guest and to drive that business, we also need to invest that in our people, and communication sitting at the kind of the core of that. Actually, I'm going to steal the clicker because, look, evidence is also a thing, right? So I just want to really quickly give a huge amount of credit to Magda and the team and what they have done here. So you can see here back in November 22, their first Great Place to Work survey, we were sitting at 56%. It was an interesting leadership session. But also the hotel was in an interesting stage of development as well. And then by focusing on key areas, most recently, the guys are now sitting in the mid-70s and have sustained that high level of culture within an industry that struggles to see those numbers. So well done. When it comes to walking the walk, but also seeing the evidence behind it, we've definitely been seeing that a long time. John, you would have done, similar work around employee value propositions. It having to be authentic, I think, is probably the biggest thing I always would have taken away from PT. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely authentic. I was actually struck by something that Jim said a little earlier about employee advocacy and HR not being, priorities, not being at the top table. And, after being in this role for 10 years, I was actually horrified to hear that sort of thing. But then it struck a chord with me and went, actually, we were probably in a similar space about 10 years ago ourselves. I was new into role. Shay Walsh had just come on as our MD. We had challenges in our customer experience. What certainly was nowhere near it needed to be in order to retain our contracts and make sure that we were being a profitable business. And we dealt with yourself and Jim over a number of surveys and engagements. And I remember talking to our commercial manager, and he was after coming up with this fantastic strategy slide. and
we love strategy slides.
Yeah. And where's the people element to that? And there wasn't a mention of people. And we went argued back and forth. I got HR to come in as well, and we browbeat him eventually, and we turned him around, and we said, and similar to what you said, Magda, if you don't have your people, pulling all together and enjoying what they do, working together for the benefit of the customer, your business goes nowhere. And very much light bulb moment with him, and we couldn't get enough people stuff on the slide the next time. But it's really, really important, and I think when you talk about employee value proposition, I think the value is the key word there, and it is making sure that your employees feel valued right through the organisation, no matter wherever they did. So in BT Ireland, we had a huge range of roles, everything from the guys that are climbing the towers in horrible weather, to the most important people actually in the business, which wasn't the senior team, but it was the people that were answering the emergency call answering service calls. And they all had different challenges. So it's very important. It starts with listening. And it seems a very simple thing to say, but it actually does start with listening. But it's regular listening, and it's really, as you said, authentic listening. It's not just going, oh, geez, we have to go in and do this round table and get it over with and blah, 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 blah. But it's actually being there, being authentic, listening to what's the challenges of a day-to-day job of an emergency call answering service operator, which is a challenging role.
Tough job.
Tough job, absolutely. Some of the things that they have to hear. And likewise, I sit in an office all day, and the worst thing I can complain about is the aircon is either too hot or too cold. Whereas
It's a fair complaint. We always, yeah.
Where he's got lads up the sides of hills in all sorts of storms, trying to get all our mobile services going, so we can get onto Twitter, etc. And we're not ringing up whoever our mobile operator saying, why can't I get X, Y, and Z or whatever, So it's those sort of things, so that they feel that they're heard, and that we address the challenges that they have and try and make their day to work as great as it is. And over the 10-year journey that we went through, I think we certainly did that. We saw our employee engagement scores shoot up and maintain at a high level. And we were able to compare ourselves to not only external organisations, but other divisions in BT, whether it was in the international business or in the UK. And we always came out above them, which was a great kudos for us. But what it was,
They weren't competitive about it at all. Any of you who are in multinational or group level organisations, it really doesn't matter what the department next door is doing at all, does it? Or and none of that.
No, but it was all about and we what it boils down to is treating people like people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm intrigued by your dialing in on the word value, right? And how you took that activity is the wrong word, but all that hard work in there, right, around that active listening, bringing that out, understanding the guy who's up the pole at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to make it work. Were you able to translate that in a way that meant you were attracting the right people then in through the door, that you were able to build that brand, or what was the value impact, I suppose, of that work?
Well, I suppose in terms of recruitment, I'll start actually. I'll just switch it a little bit in terms of retention. So we actually had an organisation that was remarkably low in terms of churn rates. That can provide its
own challenges.
Its challenges as well, but it was quite unique. And then when you talk to people, going right. Why can't we get rid of you? No, why do you stay here so long? And I just go, listen, it's the people, it's the culture, and it's the way that we do feel valued. Our voices feel valued, and that was a very genuine thing. So so people that do move on. For whatever reason, maybe it's family reasons, etc., whatever, to go, I'm really going to miss this place. It was something that we had, was very, very special. But what it did mean was then, for when we did have to go recruit, there was a great word of mouth out there of the great culture that we had. And then, we have likes of the young scientists, which is, a great attraction as well. So that helps. And then in terms of, the competitive piece, those bonds that we've created, we saw, I mentioned it, we had issues with our customer experience. That shot up. we've been the last 5 years. I keep saying we. It's hard after 28
It's a
years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Our CX levels have been in the unique zone for the last 5 years.
Wow, okay.
And that that obviously shows itself then in the business that we were able to attract and retain as well. So it goes hand in hand really, and then we all get a great boost because we are retaining these customers and we
Yeah,
have those bonds with the customers, and we see from we engage with deep insight, and we see the customer feedback. It's your people; they've got a great bond. They go the extra mile, etc. So that's all part and parcel of
yeah.
that culture.
So we've got, putting listening at the core. So again, communication coming out strongly for both of you. But the value being felt at the individual experience level because people wanted to stay with you. You got the right people on the bus and they stuck with it. When you did need to recruit, that was easier. But again, a bit like Mag's story, driving that customer experience and the business really sitting at the core and how we enable the people to do that in the right way for us and kind of having an impact on that bottom line. Okay. Um, Magda, I suppose I'm kind of interested from your perspective as well. High churn industry, right? So maybe the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm sure you also have people that have been there a long time that were like, maybe it's time for you to try something different. Okay, so what have you done to position yourself? So you've told us you've taken Kilishi on this journey. We're going after a different level of standard. We're going after a different level of what we expect from people. How you positioned yourself in terms of the talent you need to be able to deliver that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done, I suppose, initially was that internal promise, that internal journey, and then we started communicating that out to the general public. So I suppose that positioning of the business. So we very much want to be the best in hospitality. We provide a luxury 4-star experience for the guest, and we want the same for the teams. So we were very much communicating this across. To, I suppose, the wider public. Using all the social media channels, of course, people are looking at them, but it's that authentic content.
Yeah.
So even though, we might be posting things on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whichever it is, it was all about that authenticity for us. So, that the person looking in at it would be like, okay, so this is how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
This is how they recognize people. They have those kind of meetings and they publicly recognize good work, and people get like rewarded for it, So it was then the training and the development was a huge part for us.
Yeah.
So our biggest investment in that year too was into our management team. Because like at the end of the day, the employee experience is linked directly to the manager. The
Yep.
direct manager is the key person that's going to even make it really enjoyable for them or it's going to make it really hard for them. So
Yep.
we obviously want to make sure that they had a really positive experience, but they also have to be productive. So, you have those two elements that they very much have to work hand in hand. And the managers are real key. So, you can have the best leadership team at the top, but if your managers underneath you are not following through on that promise, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done huge amount of training with managers, from like trainer leadership courses, lean management, things that they can improve for their people.
Yeah.
And then they go into the department and they start implementing those changes. So I suppose that was the key for us, was that layer underneath, those heads of departments that might have like 20, 30 people reporting to them. How are they communicating with them? What message are they giving them? Are they giving them the equipment to do their job? And are they, sending that message across in terms of the purpose? And the storytelling then behind it.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the jobs, I suppose, in the hotel, the back of house areas are quite hard, like the kitchen porter that's there, doing 8 hours of cleaning, or a housekeeper up in the bedrooms, cleaning bedrooms. Like, it's not an easy job and it's a physical job, but we want them to enjoy it,
Yeah.
So it's how do we kind of do that. But yeah, it really comes down to how people interact with each other.
Yeah.
And that was a huge piece for us. So like the culture program, we've launched a culture program and we brought specialists, like I'm not a specialist in how to create a culture program, but I can bring a specialist to work with me and partner with those key people to help us bring that in. We got specialists to do like the whole development of our culture and core values. So the core values are really like a barometer of how people behave in work.
Yep.
Okay. But we did the discovery program with them. So it was very much our team telling us what are the core values, like what differentiates us from, another hotel down the road. What's different about our culture. And yeah, we are very fast paced. It is a very busy place, but we're seeing those as a positives. So if someone's looking for, an easy job to come in and out, that's not us, okay?
It's not what you're going to find here.
No, we are busy and we're fast paced and you have to put in the effort, but we will reward you for it. And you will have fun and you will have those moments of, joy and recognition. And that's what we needed to communicate across to our teams, that this is who we are. And it's fantastic to see, I suppose, our scores improving year on year and seeing that connection, that all that training that we've invested into our managers paid off.
Yep.
Because the managers are fully equipped now to deal with conflict, deal with different situations, deal with emergencies, being able to motivate the team and engage the team. Like I'm looking at my kitchen department, which is probably one of the hardest departments. Like they were probably mid-50s back in 2022. Like they're at 88 now. And the kitchen porters are the same. Like that is incredible.
It
For,
is.
the team
Yeah.
that's working on social hours, the in hot kitchens, but they just enjoy what they do and they work as a team. They interact respectfully with each other. They have a bit of fun. They can have a joke. They can have a laugh,
Yeah.
while they're working. And even like the work-life balance, like I thought the work-life balance question is going to be super low for people that work in shift work. But that has actually changed for us now because it's the people that work Monday to Friday are telling us that they don't have work-life balance and they have weekends off.
Yeah.
Spoilt.
And the kitchen team are telling me they have the great work-life balance. They love it because like they have their Monday or Tuesday off and they can
Yeah.
do stuff with the family. They can go and collect their child from school. It's just a different perspective and the way they look at it. But I think it's fantastic to see the results and to be able to measure it over the last 3 years.
Yeah. So again, what I'm kind of hearing there is you were almost unapologetic about focusing on that leadership manager level. We've got to figure that out. They are going to be our advocates because they're going to build the teams that they want to help deliver them and kind of bring that message with them. And then how that translates into the actual experience. And being upfront about where you are, it is
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah,
But if you're the right person, you'll do well here.
exactly.
And kind of
yeah.
owning that.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, John, you've been such a leader in terms of highlighting and driving social collaboration enterprise, BT Young Scientist. I mean, it's been your baby, I guess, for a while. Why? What's the impact? What was it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I suppose a couple of things. I mean, Young Scientist is obviously the headline
Yeah.
project that we managed to love and organise for 20 odd years. And that was great because it allowed our employees, number one, to engage with each other in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So you would have senior managers down on the floor, just, maybe looking after school tours, and it might be one of his team that's actually head of that particular area, so that was great. But it also gave then us as an organization a different way to interact with our customers and also our stakeholders, like in the government. And then, you've got, potential new employees, out there maybe showing their science projects or coming through the door as visitors. So it was a brilliant stage for us. And, I have to say, it was like and sorry for being over dramatic. It was a bit like the Death in the Family when we had to announce that we weren't going to be the custodians of Young Scientist earlier this year. So we do wish Stripe the best of luck in January. But it was something that it was a bit of a blow in that regard. In terms of some of the other stuff that we did in that regard, I'll just touch on one, and I could talk about loads of stuff that we've done around charitable fundraising and some of the stuff that we've done, Shop for Change for the Irish Cancer Society. But the one thing which is, and I would encourage all organisations, if you don't do it already, is our Give As You Earn scheme. So I was proud to be sitting on the committee for that for 10 years. A very, very simple process, but it gets huge engagement from employees, because it's simple enough. Give a few quid every month. It was matched by BT, and then they had the opportunity then to put forward charities that they wanted support. And by and large, I think over the course of the 10 years we didn't turn down too much, so we did. But all very really good causes, and then but they were personal to the people that were donating, in some shape or form. And it's just a great way of valuing the things that are personal to your employees. So again, I would hugely encourage people to get involved in something like that. But as I said, there was loads of stuff, and I do realise that we're running out
I
of
know,
time. So
don't worry at all, yeah.
I'll tell you another time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of conscious we've gone through a lot in terms of the ways in which people can build this from the inside out. They can get the great value from that. In terms of the guys who are sitting here who might have picked up a couple of tips from this morning, what advice would you have around taking that and turning it into that advocacy, that impact, making your people your ambassadors for your organisation? Any kind of last piece of advice you'd like to give the audience on that? Nice straightforward question that had about 3 different versions.
I suppose the one piece of advice really from me is just putting your HR strategy on paper and actually having your 3, maybe 4 key objectives, and don't overcomplicate it, because I think keeping it simple is the key. You could write a strategy with 20 pages, no one's going to look at it. Okay, let's be honest. They just have no interest in reading.
You've made somebody cry in here. Somebody has spent 3 months putting together a strategy paper and they found out no one's ever going to read it.
But if you have a really simple kind of 3 key objectives you want to achieve next year, and just have those measurable objectives. So like if it is recognition, how are you going to increase that recognition? Are you going to put a new program in place? Are you planning on doing like 3 rewards each month, and then you can quantify it?
Yeah.
If it is engagement, how are you going to achieve that? But like have your 3 key pieces and just work on them and consistently deliver, but also give that message to the team so they know what you're working on. So you're like, okay, those are the key strategic pillars for next year. This is what we want to achieve. And we can review it at the end of the year and say, okay, we've done it. We can move to the next thing.
Yeah. And we collectively achieved this because I brought you along with me in this. Yeah. I like that. John?
I think senior leadership set the tone. I think it's very important that they communicate through the organisation consistently and regularly. And where I see some organisations fall down, where there's far too much time and energy spent on managing up the organisation rather than actually speaking with the people down that are doing the really hard yards.
Yeah.
And I think more time spent at that will carry everybody along. And again, just going back to what I started off with, value your people, and they'll take you far.
Yeah. We were quite intentional in our choice with Magda and John in this in terms of impactful employee advocacy, because what you get when you witness the brands online and would have previously witnessed brand online is glimpses of something excellent, right? And you're not having to go front and center because you've built it from within. You've set expectations, you're communicating that clearly for your own teams, and they then carry that out into the talent market and bring the best or keep the best people on the bus, or maybe get a few more buses of people along in when you need it for events. Magda, John, thank you very much. John, unfortunately, does have to run. He does have a very busy last day, but he is very happy. Anybody who wants to connect with him afterwards, LinkedIn, whatever it is, please do find him. Thank you both so much for your time and insight.
Thank you.